Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the TEPSA Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Todd Neslony, the Director of Culture and Strategic Leadership here at the Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisors Association. We are thrilled every week to bring you different thought leaders from around the world, and this week, we have none other than Mr. Firehouse himself, Dr. Tron Young. Tron, I'm so excited to have you today. For those who may not know who you are, kind of introduce yourself to us.
Yeah, so Dr. Tron Young here in good old Southern Illinois, current Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services for Alton Community Unit School District number 11. It's year 20 in education and have loved every minute of it. Was a middle school teacher, taught middle school math, was an elementary principal for 1 year, and I like them, but I love my middle schoolers, so I went back and was a middle school principal for 11 years before stepping into this role with a total of 12 years of educational leadership experience.
Love it. Now, Tron, you did leave something out. You weren't just a middle school principal. You were an award-winning middle school principal. Own that. Tell us about that.
I will. So I was the 2020 Illinois Middle School Principal of the Year in the Illinois Association's National NASSP Distinguished Principal Designee, and then the 2023 Golden Apple Excellence in Leadership finalist. So one of 6 out of 150 applicants, finalists for that.
I love it. Well, you are doing some incredible work within all the different roles you've had in your new role that you're in as well. But one thing that I have always loved about watching you and your work is you've got this kind of saying about being the thermostat and not the thermometer. Talk to us a little bit about that today. What do you mean by be the thermostat?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. And so for me, it is a philosophy on leadership and just being, right? So I would ask you, right? So when you start thinking about a thermometer and what the purpose of a thermometer is, you think and you reflect, you're like, a thermometer just reflects what is happening around it. A thermometer, you just read. A thermometer informs, right? Yeah. But when you are the thermostat, a thermostat controls. A thermostat impacts. A thermostat sets. And so when I say be the thermostat and not the thermometer, especially when it comes to leadership, it's being the one who sets the culture and not just reflects the culture. Be the one who models your expectation and not just states your expectation. It's the thing of being and doing and not just saying and explaining.
Well, and I love that whole concept of, you're exactly right. A thermometer just tells you what things are. I mean, we can all look at things and see what they are, but we want to be the ones that help change it, that can raise the temperature or lower the temperature in the way things are going.
Absolutely.
And so being an administrator for several years, I mean, you've had to play a lot of different roles in really reflecting the culture of your campus and really guiding that. What are some things that you have found to be really successful when improving culture on a campus?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that is so important to improve culture on campus is you got to know the culture for which you want to create. You got to know the environment for which you want to set. Because otherwise you're going to doing this, that, and the other with no purpose or intentionality behind what you're doing. And it can look all great and fun, but I think, for instance, being intentional at lunch. Being intentional at lunch is great, and you think you're just supervising. But for me, it's an intentional time to build meaningful and purposeful relationships. We're sitting down and having a 2-minute conversation at the table with the kids, right? That's me getting on their level, having a conversation about something they're interested in it. Because you know what happens? Then the kid wants to seek out if there's a problem, if there's an issue. They'll feel comfortable talking to me in my space because I came into their space. That's intentionality. That's purpose. And then I'm modeling that for my staff. I think it's also one of the things that was so important is I started every year out with a positive letter writing campaign. Every single kid got a positive letter from our school before October 1st. How did I do that? We put every kid name on an address label. We put their name on an address label, the kid's name on the address label, had the labels out, and I kept them in the teacher's lounge. And I would have a number on each page, and I say, okay, we have 275 kids. All right, we still have 125 kids left. We still got this percentage of kids. Like, if you need help, you can. But we want that. And I tell them I want it to be refrigerator art. You know, when your kid comes home and they draw this picture and you have no clue what it is, but you say it's the best thing and you put it on their refrigerator. Well, we want that letter to be that parent's refrigerator art or Facebook post. We want it to be meaningful, something that's direct and not just, oh, I'm so glad you're in my class this year. No, hey, today I saw you holding the door open for your classmates. Thank you for establishing a culture of kindness for us, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that sets the tone for what you're looking for, what the teacher is looking for, and at the beginning of the year, what we focus on. Because what you focus on is what you feed, and we're feeding the positive.
Okay, I totally love that whole concept of if I'm sending something home to celebrate a child, I want it to be so special that it becomes refrigerator art. Like, I'm totally stealing that. I love that so much because that's so right. I mean, what kids love, they want to hang it up. They want to put it up. And I want them to love the way that they're being recognized by people they go to school with every day. So I love that terminology. Thanks for sharing that. Well,
Absolutely.
You know, Tron, as you know, as being in the several roles you've been in, being an administrator is tough. And it comes at you from all sides. And one thing that I've always really respected about you is even when you're the campus leader, knowing when to say no, knowing when to say, I love that, but we don't have the capacity right now, or let's table it for down the road because right now we need to put our focus here. And I think sometimes as school leaders, we can see everything coming at us that we don't know how to put up boundaries or put up weight signs or anything like that. So how do you navigate those waters where you don't feel like you're letting people down, but you also still prioritize what's important in that moment?
Yeah, so that's good. That is good. Tell you, it's a learned skill that you have to go through. And I think you learn it by having so much coming to your way and getting zero results on everything that you're doing, right? And so then letting the data lead you towards your decision making. By what I mean is, like, things are coming to you, you get tons of things coming, but first thing I evaluate is it targeted or hitting one of the goals that we have set for our school and the direction that we're heading? So just because something sounds awesome and it's pretty and it's shiny and it's the best new car that came, that's awesome, but does it align with the goals for we set? And is it going to move the needle or the lever for which we want to go, right? Is it going to make something better or more impactful or engage kids more, right? So you have those decision-making metrics that you go through that you evaluated, right? So the evaluation comes for me is it connected to one of our goals? Does it solve a system or a problem that we don't already have a solution for? Right? And if it hits one of those things, then I can say, okay, is now the time, or is that something that we need to consider for later and have it as an idea bank, right? So if it's something that does and it solves a problem and it needs to be solved right now, then we bring that in and we talk about it as a leadership team and then how we're going to take that out and what's going to be rolled and the impact it does. But if it doesn't, then we say it here, and that can be something that we talk about over the summer or as the department head or something like that. But those are kind of my ways of looking at it.
I love that. Does it solve a problem we have now? Like, can it solve it immediately? But I also love being able to understand and communicate well with someone that it may be a great idea and it may be totally something we need to do as a campus, but not this moment. And so let's table it for down here. And I think it's important not to say, no, we can't do that, or no, that's not possible. I think it's important to validate that is a really great idea, but the capacity or the levers aren't in place right now. Let's put that down here and let's readdress it then. So I'm really glad that you shared that. But, you know, Tron, you also, you have become someone that's also passionate about sharing your own experiences and your journey and ideas with others. And you've got this whole Be the Thermostat presentation that you do, all this stuff. When did that kind of add into what you're doing in your roles and what you have done? When did you decide that I kind of want to share some of this with other people? And then how'd you get brave enough to do that?
Yeah, so it kind of happened by like people pushing me out to do it. I won't lie, like I've never been afraid of a mic. Like I was a kid and, you know, singing in the choir when I was a kid and all this other good stuff. But, you know, like you do, like for me, I was teaching and I love teaching and I love my four walls and I can control my four walls. And I was afraid of leadership because now I'm controlling everybody else's four walls. Like I got to worry about the front of the yearbook, the back of the yearbook, every page, every name, every picture, everything is I need to worry about instead of just my own. And I knew I control what I needed.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that had the confidence that what I do and how I lead will make an impact on a grander scale. So then when I saw that, like, hey, I started leading a building of teachers that were my teachers, right? So people that were my teachers teaching when I was a kid was there, and they trusted my leadership, my vision, as I like to say, is they were sipping the Kool-Aid and they liked the flavor. And so I'm like, okay. But I still thought, I'm in my hometown. Does this work? And so starting to go into conferences and talking to people, and they're like, oh, like, can we come see your school? Like, we start doing a Chromebook Ed camp, right? And people are like, oh, can we do that? And how you're doing? I was like, well, we just did, like, we built it. Like, we believe this was great. And I didn't think it was anything special. And people started saying, no, like, this is not happening everywhere.
Yeah.
And then when I left my hometown and became a principal in Joseph Martin Middle School in O'Fallon, Illinois, and the things that I believe was good for kids, good for school, and good for growing teachers' professional practice worked at another place.
Yeah.
And they were like, yes. And then I was like, okay, this is something. Like, I look at this like I use my story and my voice to make sure that people see that this is a job that is meaningful, that add value, that I want it to be a job where people want to do it, right? Yeah. I don't want to be a job that people are like, oh, you get paid the big bucks. That's why they're on your desk. Yeah, I get paid the big bucks to handle that issue, but I also get to make meaningful relationships, help kids' future be brighter. I get to be at people's wedding. I get to, right? Like all these things based off of the ability to help them see more of themselves than they ever could have seen. And that's what I hope to inspire other people to be those leaders, because we have a problem in America with a shortage of teachers and leaders. And we talk a lot about the teachers, but leaders who are leading and changing the landscape for kids' future, there's a shortage in that.
You know, you said so many good things there that I agree with, but I love when you made the comment of, we were doing things that I didn't think that were that special, but people were like, no, tell us more. And I think that's so true about so many teachers and administrators. There's so many great things happening around this country that people think are normal, and they don't share it because they think everybody does it. And you and I know, Tron, we've been out and about. We've seen that not everybody does it. And that's why it's so important. That's why I always tell people, those of you that are listening right now, TEPSA Summer Conference always wants you to submit your ideas for a session, because we want our TEPSA people sharing all the great things they're doing. And you're proof, Tron, that you may not think that you're doing great things, but if you're in this business for the right reasons, working hard for kids, you're doing some good stuff. And it's not the same thing everybody else is doing. So I love that you shared that. Well, you know, in your new role, though, as an assistant superintendent, you get kind of a different perspective. Your day looks a little different. You work with even more varieties of personalities and things like that. What is something you've really learned either about the job or yourself since taking on this new role?
So I would say what I learned about the job, so twofold. One, there's many ways that you can do a job, right? Like you can just perform the job and do the X's and O's and be excited that you have a role and you have a title. Or you can do the job to see what impact you can have that is driving change to help kids' future and improve teacher practice. And I think there's a difference in the way you go about the job, right? So for me, it's understanding that coming into this role that like, I had to see and understand what it is, but I also had to make sure that I wasn't like, oh, now I'm an assistant superintendent, right? Or I'm downtown, you know, those downtown people. But creating it such a space where I am value added to people, to that, and not just filling a role in signing papers and approving, you know, plans, but actually going in and being part of adding value to them, adding value to our district and the work that is happening. I think that is one thing that, because it's one thing to say I'm leading my own building and I'm creating a culture for my own building, but how do I add value to people to help them build their building, build their culture, and set this be the thermostat and not the thermometer.
Well, I love that whole idea of looking at your position as what value am I adding? Not what boxes am I checking, what paperwork am I signing? Like anybody can do that kind of stuff. But how am I adding value to the people that I'm serving? I think it's such a cool way to maybe all of us listening to really reflect on our position and not just think of it as the title that it is, but who am I adding value to and how? I love that perspective. Well, Tron, you mentioned something earlier that I want to kind of close with, and that is it's hard to find great teachers right now. There's a shortage of, it's hard to find great admin. People are tired. They're leaving the field left and right. You're seeing it from all the perspectives, and you're seeing a lot of great people sticking around as well. So for those who are listening today that might be feeling a little worn out or are not really sure about, oh my gosh, can I stick with this? What words of wisdom, encouragement do you have for them today?
Yes, I would leave them with this. Understanding that, is this job hard? Oh, good Lord, we know it is. However, when you stop and if you make a list of the things that's hard and the impact that you get to have, that impact is far, deep, and wide. And when you step into this thing called education, I understand that for me, the new generation of teachers, I actually kind of like, because the new generation of teachers are like, I'm not just staying for a meeting to stay for a meeting because we're having a meeting. And I have this thing with my friend. They're looking for that work-life balance, and that's longevity. And so we get that confused. So what I tell them, what I would say is like, understand your purpose, because your purpose is your what and your why. Your where and your how, the place that you're working at, that doesn't matter. If you understand your what and your why, man, you are going to make such an impact. And as a teacher, your legacy will be one that someone was in it to help kids learn and grow, and not someone just was in it. So understand your purpose, because purpose remains when your passions wane.
I love it. Such a great way to end. Well, Tron, if people want to connect with you because they're interested in bringing you out or talking more to you or hearing a session by you, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, www.tronyoung.com, or you can reach at me on every social media platform, Tron, the number 2, the word teach, the number 4, and the letter U. Tron, to teach for you. Let's connect. Let's help our teachers grow and our students' future be brighter tomorrow than it is today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Tron. Thank you, all of you, for listening or watching another episode of the TEPSA Talk Podcast. If you haven't already, make sure you've joined TEPSA. We are a pre-K through 8th grade organization. Middle school, junior high, you have a place here too. Principals, assistant principals, supervisors, aspiring. There's a place for you here at TEPSA. We hope you visit tepsa.org for more information today. We'll see you again next week.